And here we are. Welcome back to Jenny from the Chopping Block. And today I have Lindsay here with us, and I'm so excited to introduce him to you guys and learn a little bit more about him as well. And that's what this platform has gifted me the opportunity to do. So Lindsay and I actually met in the Facebook Live challenge group. And we were following each other and kind of hopping onto each other's lives and supporting each other within that. And we just developed a nice friendship from there. And then, as I grew within the community, I went to Jake Ballantyne's Summit, and you knew everybody there. And I still want to hear more about how you got involved with, Jake's group and the Facebook Live challenge and your journey with self-development. I want to hear more about that.
Well, I'll start with Jake's group first. Jake actually at the time was living in Sacramento, and I had connected with him through Jack Canfield's group. And then I actually had lunch with him one day here in Sacramento, and we talked about a number of things. And then over time, I joined one of his groups, and then he had a summit in LA in 2018 that I went to, that I met Michelle and a whole bunch of other wonderful people, and some of them I had already known from some other events. But it just kind of evolved from there. And so after Jake's event in 2018, because I had talked to Michelle a number of times and got some great hugs, which we can't do a whole lot right now, but I still give some hugs when I can. But so she had sent an invite out early in February, because the summit was the end of January of 2018, that she was going to have a Facebook Live challenge. And I thought, okay, 7-day challenge starting on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Can't be a big deal. And come to find out later, it was the first one that she had done. And so, from her Tony Robbins group and things, there were just a lot of people that joined, and then they were inviting other people to join. And that's how I got to meet you, which we've never met in real life, but we've talked on the phone a few times, and here we are on the internet. But, it's interesting how life works for you, not to you, but for you. And I've been an accountant for over 30 years, done taxes since 1987, which probably a lot of your listeners weren't even born back then.
No, we were all born. All my friends are older, and I was born in 86. Okay. So I was right there with you.
So the same age as my youngest daughter.
Cool.
But the thing is that, you go through life, and a lot of people just kind of go through what they're given instead of looking for more. And it was about, I'd say 6 years ago, I just started looking for some more things. And so I went to some personal development seminars, and that's when I really started getting into reading books, personal development books. And the thing is that I found that there's so many people out there that are hungry for things, but they don't know that they're hungry, because they just kind of go through their day, day in and day out doing the same thing. They get up, they brush their teeth, they go to the bathroom, they have breakfast, they go off to work, come home, have dinner, sit and watch TV, go to bed. And they do the same thing over and over and over again. And I was just looking for something more. And I found that as I've talked to people in different arenas, there's so many people that are stuck, but they don't know that they're stuck. And so that's kind of one of my missions, to help people find more fulfillment in their life. And that's where this comes in. But the thing is that we never know where life's going to take us. But if we don't search, how are we going to find it?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was probably about 2 years ago that I was doing it was a Facebook Live challenge group. It wasn't Michelle's group, it was another one where we would do a video once a week.
Oh, cool.
And there'd be certain topics that we had to expand on. And one of the weeks was one that we just had to come up with something of our own. And I'd been into, $2 bills for quite a while. And I thought, you know what? It would be neat to do a video about $2 bill. And as I thought about it, I thought, okay, there's more to a $2 bill than just the $2 bill. And so, the thought process just continued and expanded to my analogy. Now, I don't know if you want me to share it right now, or if you want me to share it later.
No,
Okay.
One of my favorite lives that you did, and part of the reason why I was drawn so much to is that explanation of the $2 bill. I just thought it was remarkable. So I would love you to share that with the audience.
Okay. So a lot of times when people see a $2 bill, they get excited because it's not something that you see on a regular day. There you go. And so they get excited because of the fact that it's not necessarily because it's something that is super valuable in and of itself. But the thing is that it's not something that they see on a regular basis. So when you see a $2 bill, people, a lot of times get excited. Wow, I haven't seen one of those for a long time, or I've got some of those, but I haven't looked at them. They're in the drawer, they're in the safe, they're in, safe deposit box. And so the analogy goes like this. The $2 bill is just like each one of us. We each have talents that for us are to a certain degree kind of mundane because we've had them for so long. But yet when we share those talents with other people, they get excited. Mm-hmm. And so, the people that are around us all the time that we're doing the same thing day in and day out with, they said, oh, that's just who Jen is. But yet, I don't know if you sing. Do you sing?
I love to sing, but I need practice.
Or do you play an instrument?
I've played instruments, but not currently.
Okay. Do you dance?
Oh, I dance every day.
Okay. So I'll bet you anything, if there were people that didn't know that you danced and then you got up and danced while doing a live, the thing is that they would say, wow, she is amazing. She's a good dancer. But yet, because you didn't share that with them before, they didn't know. Mm-hmm. And so in 2019, I had a client towards the end of tax season that came in. And last year, it cost me quite a few of these because I gave a lot of my clients $2 bills.
I have bills. 2 of them. Guys, whoever is commenting the most, and I'm going to pick somebody soon because I have 3 books. I'm going to send you a $2 bill and a t-shirt. So interact with us. And
let them know that they're in numerical sequence too. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, cool.
Because a lot of times I'll get brand new ones that have not been circulated. Cool. And they're in numerical sequence. So they go from, 1 to 99.
Like fresh off the press.
Yes.
Are you printing them?
No.
Are you sure?
Hey, they weren't wet when you got them, were they?
Oh, they were perfect. Like crisp and love it.
Okay. So towards the end of tax season last year, as I was explaining my analogy to a couple, the wife, who I've done her mother's return for a number of years, she told me that her mom was in she had to put her in adult daycare because she now has Alzheimer's. And I've done her mom's return for a number of years as well. And she explained to me that after about 2 weeks of being in, dropping her mom off at the adult daycare, she happened to be in the activity room talking to the director. And as they were talking, she noticed out of the corner of her eye that there was a piano over in the corner. And she told the director, said, my mom used to be a concert pianist. And the director looked at her like, you're kidding. And she said, no, she used to be a concert pianist. And the director said, well, do you think she'd like to play? And my client said, I don't know, because it's been a long time since she's played, but she used to play one classical piece all the time without music called Missouri Waltz. And so she said, why don't you just go ask her if she'd like to try? So she went over and talked to her mom and said, Mom, look, there's a piano over there in the corner. How about if we pull it out and you can sit down and play? And her mom's response was the same. She said, I don't know. I haven't played for a long time. And she said, oh, come on, just give it a try. So anyway, long story short, they pulled it out. She sat down and played that piece flawlessly after not playing it for over 20 years.
Beautiful.
And my client said, as she was standing there watching her mom play, there was just a physical change in her presence that took her back to that time frame when she would play all the time. And it's kind of a long piece. And so while she was playing, some of the other residents of the facility came into the activity room because nobody ever played the piano. And they thought, who's playing? So my client said the same thing. As the other residents were standing there, you could just see a change in their presence while they were listening to that music that took them back 20, 25 years ago.
I'm having a lot of memories of just being in like a nursing home and watching the music therapy and just seeing like a lot of times when there's stuff going on in the brain, the music it's not your dominant side. So music comes from the left side. Or vice versa, whatever. So it's just really interesting. And then music, just the memory, the feeling. I mean, I love music.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing the story.
You bet. So now, as a consequence, because she's been, she played that, she plays 2 or 3 times a week. It's the same song, but, people with dementia don't remember, and they go and.
She's going back to that beautiful place.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's just, so the $2 bill, just to finish up on the $2 bill, the $2 bill not only represents the talents that we have that we don't share very often, but also I think you'll agree that we all have talents inside of us that we don't even know that they're there. Oh. And so it's to find those new talents inside of us, to develop those and to share those talents, because we never know by sharing our talents how we can affect somebody. But yet, if we don't share, there's no possibility that we can affect them. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Lynn, for sharing that and sending me $2 bills. And just, I always keep that in my mind. And, at the time when we met, I was still working at my old job. And I had a customer who he would always tip us in $2 bills every week. And I would collect them and save them. And just like his, he would go and get them from the bank, and he wanted to keep it alive because his dad was really into it. So it was like a memory and just a tradition of their family. And I probably got over like hundreds of $2 bills like over the years from him, but I still had the same feeling. And then once you spoke about the story, it meant something even more to me. So yeah, just really appreciate it.
So just for the listeners, if they have access to a $2 bill, just to kind of finish up the $2 bill analogy, I would invite you to get a $2 bill and post it somewhere where you can see it frequently, to remind yourself on a daily basis to share your talents, because we all have amazing talents. But there again, for the most part, for us, they're not amazing because we've had them for such a long time. But yet when we share them with other people, things just open up.
Mm-hmm. And it gives other people the freedom to do the same.
Yeah.
So I want to touch back with the Facebook Live challenge. And I know that you've grown within that community. But now you're stepping into something a little more with your own podcast. Can you tell us more about that experience?
Well, it's scary, but I've decided to go ahead and start doing my own podcast. I've never done it before, never been in media before. I love doing Facebook Lives. And I love sharing information with people that can help them stop and think to possibly grow a little bit more, to get out of that stuck position in their life. Because like I said before, there's so many people that are just stuck, but they don't know that they're stuck. And so I'm in it's called the Podcast Accelerator with Michelle Soro. And I think it's an 8-week, 9-week course. And this week is going to be week 4 on Wednesday.
Cool. Wow, time's flying by, huh?
Yes. And that's why I've got these headsets, because of the Podcast Accelerator. And I've got a microphone and some other goodies. And I even brought my extended light that has a light on it, so I don't have it going right now because I'm not as bright as I should be. But it just, it lights up in front of you so that you're not dark. Mm-hmm. But it's
I got one here.
Yeah.
I put it above me because I don't want it shining on my face, so I'll get a headache.
But with the Podcast Accelerator, I'm going to primarily be focusing on people over 55. Not saying that other people can't listen into it, but the title of it, at least for now, because it may change, is Design Your Life 2.0.
Beautiful.
And the meaning behind it is we've gone through, raising children and, most of our working years. And now it's time to step into who we can really become, because there's too many people in life that they've gotten a job, they don't really like it, but it pays the bills and, takes care of those things. But there's a lot of people, I would say probably the majority of the people out there, that it's a job, it's not a calling. Mm. And the difference is, with a calling, you do it for free, but a lot of times people pay you for it because you've got the experience, you've got the savvy, and it lights you up. Whereas a job is, I've got to go to work again today. And so, not saying that people have to change career at 55 and older, but if they change their mindset, they can change their outcome, because one of Jack Canfield's equations, one of his principles, is E plus R equals O. So E is the event. And for the most part, we cannot control the events in our life. And then plus R is our response. So if we have a reactive response, we've lost control. But if we respond in a positive way, we can keep control of the event. And then the O is the outcome. So there again, the event plus our response will equal the outcome. And I think in any situation that you look at, we can always find good if we're looking for it. And I don't know if you want to jump there now, but
I'd love to.
A little over a month ago, I was out riding my bike, which I'm an avid cyclist here in Sacramento. And I was finishing a 45-mile bike ride with, we started with 6 and then wound up with 4, and then 2 peeled off, and one of my neighbors and I were riding home. And without any forewarning or anything, I passed out. And had some road rash, which for the most part, it's gone now. I've got some scarring, but I had a huge bruise on my right thigh, which was very painful. And, it was scary. But as my friend was driving me home, I was thinking, okay, this happened for me. It didn't happen to me. And so I thought, okay, where can I find some positives in this event so that I can have the outcome that I want? And, it could have been the other side. I could have thought, man, why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? Is God punishing me? But the thing is, if we turn it the other way and say, okay, this happened for me. How can I grow? How can I learn? What positives can I take from this? It's been a whole different experience. And, I still have some pain in my shoulder when I hit the ground, which I don't remember hitting the ground. I know I did because I had road rash and boo-boos and stuff. But, it's been a learning experience. So we can always learn from whatever experience that we have, but we need to look at it in a positive sense and not in a negative sense.
And it's hard to do it sometimes, but the rewards are worth it.
Yeah.
And I've seen your journey, and I wanted to mention, like, just being in the community that we were in. And, it's kind of weird that we haven't met, but I feel like we know each other on such a deep level because we've seen each other's journey the past couple of years. And I was in Michelle's group since the beginning as well. And just to see your resilience and your positivity, and, you've had some challenging health issues. You're just such a light, and you have so much to give and share. And I'm really excited for you to do your podcast and, share some more wisdom that you have to help people. It's amazing.
I don't know how many times virtually I've given you hugs. Like, there's Jenny.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, one of the other things, I had my fall early in May, and then last Thanksgiving I had my second heart attack, which it was just blockage in my right coronary artery, which I had another heart attack in 2009. And when I went into the hospital, because I actually had a heart attack there, the doctor came in and we talked, and I just, I felt very comfortable that, okay, you're going to take care of things, and then I'm going to be on my way. And it was interesting because Thursday, I was in the emergency room because they were monitoring me. And then Friday, they got me up to walk around. I had to use a walker because I was still hooked up to a heart monitor. And I was still, jovial and joking with the nurses and stuff. And then they moved me to the cardiac floor Friday afternoon. And then Friday night after dinner, I went and asked my nurse if I could just walk around the floor because I hadn't been getting any steps in. And she said, yeah, just, if you feel lightheaded or faint, just stop. I said, okay. So anyway, the first time at the hospital that I was at, there was a nurse's station on either end of the floor. So I went out towards the front end, and there was a male nurse that was sitting at the desk there on the outside. And as I started to walk around, he looked up at me, and I said, oh, don't mind me. I might look like a patient, but I'm actually a doctor just doing my rounds.
That's funny.
So he laughed, and so each time I walked around, he'd just look up and smile. And so Saturday morning before breakfast, I got up and walked again. Well, it just so happens, because they do 12-hour shifts, he was sitting in the same spot.
What the hell is he doing? No, I'm just kidding.
So as I start to walk around the desk, he looks up and he says, oh, good morning, doctor. I see you're doing your rounds early. I said, yeah, I'm trying to get them done so I can get out of here.
Oh, so good.
But Friday night, just one other interesting, funny thing is I was walking around on the floor because they have the doors to go into the different rooms that are side by side. I was walking in the opposite hallway where I was sitting, or where my room was, and there was a nurse that came out that had a mask on. And I thought, okay. And then about 2 seconds later, there was another nurse that came out of the adjoining room that had a mask and a shield on. And they were talking, and I walked up and I stood there and looked at them, and they kind of looked at me, and I said, boy, the two of you make me feel like I need full body armor. And they just laugh. So, even when you have a heart attack and things, you can still have fun and enjoy life, because life is meant to be enjoyed.
And I think I just want to mention and honor you, because just the stories that you tell about just lighting people up all the time and just giving people joy, like an unexpected joy. What inspires you to do that?
Well, actually, it goes back to my shirt, which I guess it's time to show.
Woo! I love it.
So
good.
It's going to be almost 3 years ago. It was August of 2017. I was in believe it or not, a personal development seminar in Salt Lake City. And I was walking back into the Salt Palace where the seminar was being held. And to get up to the main floor, you had to walk up this slight incline. And I'm sure it's happened to you every once in a while. There's these mental downloads that come to you, and you're thinking, where did that come from? So this is one of the days. And as I walk into the Salt Palace, I had this thought, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way in the world that I'm going to do that. Because up at the corner, because I had to turn the corner, and up at the corner there was a bench, and there were two ladies sitting on the bench, and there was a gentleman that was standing talking to them. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I'm from California. I'm in Utah. They're in a different event. Even if they do think I'm crazy, who cares? Because I'm never going to see them again anyway. So I walk up and I stand there. And, because they were talking, I didn't want to interrupt. And so when they finally looked at me, I said, excuse me, I need to confirm something that I heard about the three of you to see if it's true. And both ladies had this look on their face like, who in the heck are you and who have you been talking to? And so the lady that was closest to me, she said, so what did you hear? And I said, as a matter of fact, I heard that the three of you are amazing individuals. Is that true? And with a little bit of laughter in her voice, she said, and you couldn't tell that just by looking at us? But I said, well, I could, but I still had to ask to make sure it was true. And then the gentleman said, but I'm just good. And inside I thought, but then the lady that was sitting close to him, as she pointed in his direction, said, but he is amazing by association with us, talking about the two women. And I thought inside, yes. So I just stood there for a couple more minutes, and we talked about positive things. And I said, well, I got to get back to my seminar, and, you guys are going to have to go in pretty soon. And both the ladies said, thanks for sharing that with us, because it just picked up our afternoon, because after lunch, seminars kind of drag on and stuff. I said, well, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. So I may be 15, 20 yards down the hallway, and I hear another couple walk out of a different room. And I kind of glanced over my shoulder, and I thought, should I or shouldn't I? And I thought, first one went well, maybe the second one will go good. So I turned around and walked back, and the gentleman's closest to me. And I walk up and I said, excuse me, I need to confirm something that I heard about the two of you. And the gentleman, because they both had their lanyards on, and I had mine, but mine was tucked in my pocket because I just got back from lunch. And the gentleman said, and who are you with? Kind of with a stern look. And I said,
they expected you to say something not so pleasant.
Yeah. And I said, oh, that doesn't matter. I just need to confirm whether it's true or not. So the lady said, and? So I said, I heard that the two of you are amazing individuals. Is this true? And the lady said, as a matter of fact, it is. And thank you for recognizing it. So they were both laughing a little bit. But the gentleman just wouldn't let go of it. And he said, so who was it that told you this? And I said, actually, it was a little birdie that flew by and whispered it in my ear. And at this point, they're, really laughing now. So they're headed to the bathroom, going the same direction that I was going. So we just walked slowly and talked about positive things. And even after we got outside the bathroom, we talked for another 15 or 20 seconds. And then I said, well, I've got to get back to my seminar. And I know you two have business to take care of. And they both said, thanks for sharing that with us. So I've just done that ever since. I'll walk up to random strangers at the grocery store, at the bank, on the street, almost anywhere I can, and ask that question. And it probably 95% of the time I get a positive response. Sometimes I'll get people that say, oh, I'm not amazing. And I just kind of leave it at that. But about a year later, I came up with a second question after they agreed that they are amazing. And the second question is this: seeming you're amazing, would you be willing to share with me one thing that makes you amazing? And I'll tell you, the barriers go down, and it's like you have now just become their new best friend. Mm-hmm. And I've had some people tell me 3 or 4 things, just boom, 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 boom. I say, hey, I only asked for 1, not 3 or 4. Yeah. And it's just been because it's a positive thing and people aren't expecting it. Mm-hmm. When you do that, and then when you ask the question about what's one thing that makes you amazing, it makes them stop and think, you know what? I am amazing. And
that focus on.
And the thing is, when I've gone to different stores or banks that I've used it on tellers or clerks there at the store, and they see you again, they don't even have to say anything. They just smile because they remember the last interaction that they had with you, that you told them that they were amazing.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. So inspiring. I love it. So, Linz, I want to tie in the Jenny from the chopping block, and I'm really, really curious about what your favorite food and or recipe is.
Favorite food. We haven't talked about this yet, but my wife is from Brazil, and in Brazil they eat a lot of black beans and rice, but they do. Well, they have what's called feijoada, and if Danielle Russo is listening, she knows what feijoada is.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, but it's there's feijoada and then there's feijoada completa, and the feijoada completa, they put lots of different meats in it, tripe, and they put feet and other things, but just the feijoada, they put there's pork and different cuts of meat and just different things, and you've got the flavor of all the different meats along with the beans and the other things that you put in, and it's out of this world.
I need it. Is it like a stew?
No, it's not really a stew. Maybe I'll ask my wife to.
I'm coming over. Just kidding.
Translate a recipe, and then I'll, or maybe I can get a hold of Frank and have Danielle send you a recipe from.
Oh, I would love that.
Florida. But it's just great, and they also use manioc flour, toasted manioc flour. It's not really a side dish, but you add it to it. That they'll take sausage and kind of cook it in the pan as well, and then they add that as they're again not a side dish, but you add it to the feijão and the beans and rice. I'm slipping back to my Portuguese. But it's really good. It's really good.
Sounds amazing. I definitely need to try that. I might go to a restaurant and eat it first so I know what it's supposed to taste like.
Well, I mean, I'm sure in New York City, they probably have some Brazilian restaurants.
Definitely.
So
I remember you mentioning that you have 4 children and 2 were born in Brazil.
yes.
Can you tell me how you met your wife, how they were born in Brazil?
Well, they were born natural birth. No.
Well, you lived there for 7 years, 5 years?
Yes. Lived there total about.
How were they born? No.
About 5 years. They just popped out. No. Well, when I first went down to Brazil, I went down as a missionary for our church.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I was down there for almost 2 years initially. And then my wife caught my eye. And after I got home, we wrote back and forth. And long story short, she was able to come to the States. And because I had planned on going back down to Brazil the summer of '76. But her parents didn't want me to spend all that money and then find out, maybe it wasn't going to work out. So her dad had the opportunity to come to the States in '76 in March. And she came with him. Another long story. They had a car. They got back from the family trip. In Brazil, a lot of times they'll park their cars on the street because all the apartments don't have parking spots in the garage underneath the building. And 2 gentlemen walked up after all the family got out of the car while my father-in-law was getting the rest of the stuff and asked him if he would like to sell his car. And he said, well, I was thinking about it. And they offered a price which was very generous. And so he sold the car right there on the spot. And anyway, so she was able to come to the States.
Oh my gosh.
And then on the other side, he went back to Brazil and left his 18-year-old daughter here in the States. Because
he must have really liked you.
Well, we knew each other from before somewhat, but anyway, so he gets back to Brazil, has to take a taxi home, and he shows up by himself. And the family says, where's Lucia? And, oh, she's in the States. She's getting married. He said, nah. So anyway, they go through the apartment complex trying to find her, and then finally realize that she wasn't there.
They thought he was kidding.
Yeah. So anyway, we got married here in May of '76, and earlier that year they had passed a law that any foreigner that got married in the States still had to go back to their original country, apply for a marriage visa, and then come back to the States. But we had planned on living down in Brazil anyways after I finished the semester. So we had to move our wedding a month early because we were going to get married in June. We got married May 7th. And then her visa was to run out, or did run out, on the 10th of May. And so we got married, went on our honeymoon, came home Monday night thinking she was going to have to get on a flight Tuesday. But as it turned out, she didn't have to. So that's another story. But anyway, we lived in Brazil for another 2.5 years. Our 2 oldest children were born there. Our 3rd child came home in the oven to the States. And then our baby, who was born in '76 or in '86, she's been down there a number of times, and all of our kids speak Portuguese.
Awesome.
So anyway,
wow,
that's
such a remarkable story. Truly, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You bet.
And just seeing you light up when you were talking about your father-in-law, and this is so sweet. So I want to hear a little, what was your favorite part about living in Brazil?
The people. There's beautiful scenery. One of the things that a lot of people probably don't realize unless they've been to Rio is you've got the beaches, but you've also got the mountains, all close. If you stop and think about it, you've got the Sugarloaf, and then you've got the Christ statue. The Christ statue's up on the mountains or in the mountains, but it's not the highest peak. And then the Sugarloaf is out by the bay, but it's just a rock formation that's there in the Guanabara Bay. That's the bay there in Rio. But the people are just so warm and loving, and I can't be mistaken for Brazilian because I have that pure gringo look. But yet, because I've spoken Portuguese since I was 19,
Wow.
I don't have much of an accent.
Cool. Can you say something in Portuguese? I won't understand it, but I want to hear it anyway.
What would you like me to say? Just give me a phrase.
Can you say, like, I am so amazing?
Amazing doesn't translate real good to Portuguese. Well, not literally, but eu sou muito surpreendente. E a vida no Brasil é uma vida bem especial. So the last part I said that life in Brazil is very special.
Oh, love it. Thank you for that. And I know you speak 3 languages. What other language do you speak?
Spanish.
Cool. And so I have a couple of friends. Actually, the last Tony Robbins event, I stayed with a few people from Brazil, and I forget. There was 2 other women from other countries, but it was interesting because I picked up that sometimes people who speak Portuguese could kind of understand Spanish, but Spanish can't understand the Portuguese.
Yeah, it's interesting. People that speak, I mean, the languages are pretty similar, but in Portuguese, the Portuguese language, there's more nasal sounds. And so people that speak Portuguese have an easier time understanding Spanish than vice versa. But a lot of the words are the same. Some of them have a different meaning.
Like especial, that sounds like Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew, like, I love to hear different languages and pick up like certain words that maybe I could understand. It's cool.
Yeah, and sometimes people say, well, how do you distinguish between Spanish and Portuguese? And sometimes they still get mixed in. But, if I'm speaking to somebody that speaks Spanish, and I'm probably about 75% fluent in Spanish, but sometimes you don't have that word that's right there that you want to have come out. So I'll throw it out in Portuguese and I'll get that look like, ¿qué es esto? So I have to, explain to it in English. And, oh, okay. And then I'll ask them, ¿cómo se dice the word? And then they'll go from there. But
I love that. So this is perfect lead into my next question. So I see that you have many superpowers. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Probably to help more people enjoy life more. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on with my podcast. And, because I was stuck in it for so many years that, you get in your own little world and don't want to venture out. And I think if people are willing to, as you know, get comfortable being uncomfortable, where you can grow and you can learn more things and different things, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do all of them, but just to taste them. It's just like you're at a buffet and you want to taste a little bit of each of the different plates. You may not like all of them, but if you don't try it, how are you going to know? And so if I had one superpower, is to help people enjoy life a little bit more.
I love that. And I can't wait to see you fulfill that.
Hey, there's John.
What's up, John? We have a lot of love in here today.
Yes.
We have a beautiful community.
Hey, John, just to let you know, you're amazing, buddy.
You are amazing. And I am Groot.
Okay.
No, it's just an inside joke. So I also, I just wanted to check in with you and see. I know you were on vacation last week, and I just want to hear about your whole experience with this this pause that we've had. How have you been? And I just want to know more about that.
Actually, it really hasn't affected me that much. Doing taxes, we were an essential business, still are an essential business. So I wasn't really quarantined. And personally, this is just me. I think it's not to take away from the people that have died and that have gotten sick, but I think there was a lot of fear out there that isn't necessary. I mean, if you take the normal precautions and everything, wash your hands and, cover your mouth when you sneeze or whatever, and just, be cautious and be aware of your surroundings and things that, I just don't think it's as bad as it has been made out to be. And, originally they had predicted a lot more deaths than people have died. There again, not to take away from it, but I go out and I walk just about every day. And I've heard numerous times that there's a lot of people, that just by getting out in the sun, that it's a natural disinfectant.
Cool. I knew there was something to that.
Yeah. Well, and you stop and think about it. In Italy, where they had all those elderly people that passed away because they got it, they were locked up in their houses.
Yeah. I just heard that yesterday. Wait, did you tell me that yesterday?
No.
No? Oh, I'm like, wow, I'm having similar conversations with people. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
But they had talked about how, in 1918, when they had the Spanish influenza, that those that were treated in hospital rooms outside, that had access to the sun, that their symptoms were a lot less, and a lot less people died from those that were in the hospital rooms and being treated in the rooms.
So interesting. I wonder if that's part, because today I start back one of my jobs and it's all outdoors. And like, I haven't watched the news and I don't keep up with anything. So it's like that, media, whatever. So I didn't even ask, like, why do we have to be outside? I just thought maybe because it was more open, more space, but maybe it has something to do with the sunshine.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with, if you watch the news and all this gloom and doom, you're going to think, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. But I think a lot of it, just like in anything else, a lot of it starts up here. And then it, because if you have dis-ease, that, can translate into your body.
Disease. Yeah. Beautiful. So is there anything else on your heart that you want to share today?
It's a good thing I've got these on, huh? Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that, we're each individuals. We each have our own talents, our own superpowers, and we each all have amazing abilities. And the thing is that a lot of times we don't share them with other people because we don't think that they're special. But the thing is that you never know how you can affect someone. And I stated this earlier, talking about the $2 bill, but you never know how you can affect someone unless you share your talents or unless you share, conversation with somebody. You can't get to know somebody just by standing off and observing. The best way to do it is to engage. And that was one of the other things that I wanted to touch about just real quick. I found that through, this question, if you're amazing, I found that more and more people are willing to, not only willing, but they're hungry for verbal engagement. But most people are not willing to take the first step. But if you're the one that takes the first step and willing to engage other people in conversation that you've never met before, you can meet some wonderful people. And just by doing that, it helps break down their barrier a little bit too, because they're now talking to somebody that they've never met before. Mm-hmm. So that's that.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You bet.
Well, I'm really excited to, see your journey, and I can't wait to hear your podcast. And, I'm always rooting you on, and maybe we'll meet one day in person.
I don't doubt that.
So, all right, everybody. Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope that you found as much value as I did, and just love Lindsay. Love you, Lindsay. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.